Hello, father. Bitch, just say dad. Welcome to Ranger Reviews, a website we look at episodes of the TV show Power Rangers and then discuss them. Today we're exploring the 5th episode of the show, Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, as well as the 343rd episode overall, titled A Matter of Trust. We begin this episode in the Aqua Base with a presentation from Mitchell to the Rangers. He's showing them video of a fuel cell that is top secret. It's super powerful and it's sensitive to high temperature, so it needs to be away from heat no matter what. And here's a demonstration of what it could do if it blew up everything. They'll meet Dr. Hansen at the airport, and their job is to get it back to the base safe and sound. They go to leave, but Mitchell asks for Dana to come back because he actually has a different assignment for her. The others leave. Mitchell asks her to give his friend with bad eyesight a ride to the Aqua Base. Here's his address. Dana says, with all due respect, call your friend a taxi. And she starts to say how it's unfair. It's babysitting, and she says that you can pick me as the Pink Ranger, but this is pretty obvious that you just see me as a little girl. She huffs off. So, she gonna go get the guy or what? I mean, she could call a taxi herself secretly. In the Skull Cavern, the villains somehow know about the fuel cell, watching the Rangers. They want to destroy Mariner Bay with it. Jinxer thinks Impus is ready to make his first monster, and the baby makes a card, so Jinxer yeets it into the portal, and ta-da, a new monster is here, Fire-Ore. Lokai wants to see how powerful he is, and Fire-Ore blasts at him. He'll go after the fuel cell. The four Rangers meet Hansen and some guards at the airport, and they're taking him to the Hummer. Meanwhile, Dana's in an alley, knocking on a metal door. She meets Earl, and he's a country boy at heart. He has fishing gear, and he has a bait box with him. Dana is pissed immediately that her dad and him are just gonna go fishing, and he's like, jealous are you? Well, you can drive Old Blue, aka his old blue truck. Is this plot obvious yet? The others are traveling with Dr. Hansen, who is hugging his suitcase close. Then explosions. They get out of the Hummer, protecting Hansen. Then Fire-Ore and Batling show up, who demands a fuel cell. Lightspeed, rescue! Immediately fired at, and Kelsey is covering Dr. Hansen while the Rangers take on the Batlings, and seriously, this choreography is this season. So different from past seasons. Also, Carter tries to fight off Fire-Ore, and he calls for Dana to help them. Dana turns around and she's going back. Mitchell calls Dana, telling her to return to the base immediately. Ignore the others, that's an order. She gets pissed, turning the car around violently so that she can get back there. Also, Dana only exclusively refers to her dad as father, and it's real bad. Fire-Ore corners Dr. Hansen and he gets the box away from him, slashing it open. It's empty. Viper is there and she tries to laugh, but somehow she fails at it. The Rangers get over there and Dr. Hansen runs away. Fire-Ore tells him how the fuel cell isn't there, and he starts screaming for where it is, and he says, "You 5 Rangers won't." And then he realizes Dana's missing, and he goes for her because he immediately knows that the fuel cell is with her. He gets away and the Rangers run after. Now Fire-Ore creates a giant circle of fire around the city, and the Rangers realize that people in the streets are passing out from the extreme heat that's happening suddenly. They look up and actually the heat is just floating above them. It condenses into a bubble, and now it's shooting fireballs down on the city, and the Rangers are running through the streets as explosions are all around them, knocking them down. Chad gets up, scanning the area with his visor, and he finds Fire-Ore on a rooftop. They move out. Meanwhile, Dana is burning up, as is Earl, and they're fired on by the thing in the sky, crashing into some cardboard boxes because of course. Earl drops the box and we see that he loses some ice. Dana gets out of the car and she sees Earl has left too, and she runs over, and as he's putting ice back into the bait box, she realizes that he had the fuel cell the entire time. Earl explains that Mitchell insisted that Dana be with Earl so that he knew that he would get back to the base safely. She smiles for a second only to be fired on again. Earl drops the goddamn box again, and he puts a fuel cell in his coat with some ice. Viper shows up, stalking forward, and seriously, she keeps trying to laugh, and it's so bad. This is like Mandark. Anyways, the Rangers find Fire-Ore on the rooftop, but he calls out more Batlings, so the Rangers take them on pretty easily. Dana is now putting Earl's arm in a sling because she's a paramedic, and Earl suddenly says she looks just like her mother, and how proud she'd be if she could see Dana now. So I guess Mrs. Mitchell is dead. The Rangers are fighting Fire-Ore some more in a plaza, and it ain't going so great. Dana and Earl are running, and they're on a dock. The ice is melting in Earl's shirt, and Viper has shown up, going toward them. Dana tells Earl to trust her, and Viper fires on them, but Dana reflexes the laser with some tool. After the explosion, Viper runs over to find a wake in the water, and she goes, "They got away." No shit. At the Aqua Base, Dana and Earl show up soaking wet, delivering the fuel cell to Mitchell. Dana says the other Rangers, and she's gotta go. The Rangers are getting hit down, and Fire-Ore tells Carter he can't fight fire. I mean, that's literally what he does. He's a firefighter. Dana shows up making a lot of fire puns, and then they pose up a storm. Carter goes after Fire-Ore with his baton, but he somehow teleports away, leaving. They then rappel up real fucking fast, and Dana sees a translucent Fire-Ore, but then he fires on them again. Time to use a bunch of ropes to swing around and kick him in the face. Okay, this is cool, even though it makes no sense. Fire shoots them all down with a fireball, and then he steps on Carter, calling more fireballs. The Rangers were pretending, so they hold him in place as the fireball comes toward him. They let him go at the last second, and he gets blown up by his own attack. Jinxer makes him giant, so Dana calls for the rail rescues. The Zords come out and they form the Lightspeed Megazord. Now they're fighting Fire in the city again, and he gets close, so they use the ladder arms to get some distance. These ladder arms are freaking handy. They do a flip kick, kicking him back before they call out the Lightspeed Megazord Saber, doing the slash attack, killing Fire once and for all. Kind of starting to like the Lightspeed Megazord. In the base, Mitchell's in his office typing. Dana knocks on the door, coming in. She apologizes for what she said earlier, and she wonders sometimes if he still thinks of her as a little girl instead of an actual Power Ranger. Mitchell says that for years she's been trained to become the Pink Ranger, and he was proven right today. But she'll always be his little girl because a part of him doesn't want that to ever change. Dana says she's proud to be a Ranger, but being his daughter is the best. Aww. The end. Okay, this episode's actually a pretty damn good one for a Dana focus episode. We learned that she has an insecurity about being a Ranger because she's Mitchell's daughter, which actually makes a lot of sense. Her mother died and Earl knew her apparently, which is a cute moment. And then she ends up saving the day. The other parts that kind of lower the episode is acting that's coming from Dana in some scenes, but that really could be more of the director's fault than anything else. I love the little moments that they're injecting into this season. The "you look like your mother and she'd be really proud of you, she could see you now" moment was totally ancillary, but it was so perfect to understand Dana a bit more. Pretty good stuff all around. Next time, Vipra. But until then, may the power protect you.